Welcome to the Academy, a series focused on the basics of Star Wars: The Old Republic. In this episode, we'll be discussing
Legacy unlocks, what they are, how they work, and what's the best value for your hard-earned credits or cartel coins.
If you've just recently leveled your first character in Star Wars: The Old Republic, there are a lot of things you can do to make your life more convenient and more fun in the game. All of your characters belong to your legacy. Your legacy is gotten very early in the game, and each of your characters on the server becomes a part of it as you create them. One of the most convenient things they can share is a stronghold. If you don't have a stronghold yet, you can head to the fleet to the strongholds and crafting section and buy one there. Your first one only costs 5,000 credits, so it's pretty easy to obtain. Once you have a stronghold unlock, every single one of your characters can access it. The best thing about a stronghold is that you can create a room that is purely for convenience. You can place in there a mailbox, a galactic trade network for buying and selling things, an item modification station for changing out augments. You can add your most used crafting nodes, you can add vendors to sell junk to, you can add a bank, a guild bank, and a legacy bank. A legacy bank is extremely useful to share stuff between your characters. You can place any item in here that is not bound directly to your character. So you can place crafting materials in here, you can place boosts in here, you can place unbound armor in here, and you can also place legacy armor in here, which can be traded between characters. Legacy armor has a nice little shield icon in the corner, and any armor that has that icon can be used to create a set that is shared between multiple characters. For example, if you have a trooper on the Republic side, you can create a set that is also good for using on your bounty hunter on the Imperial side. The rest of your legacy is represented in the Legacy panel, which looks like a shield icon on the main menu. On the left-hand side, you can see a list of all the things that are shared amongst your legacy. One of the many things shared amongst your legacy are achievements. Achievements are a long list of things you can try to get in the game that aren't necessarily tied to your class story or to the natural progression of the game. There are a lot of different types of achievements. Some are as simple as killing so many bad guys on a certain planet. Others are more specific, like finding a specific NPC hidden somewhere secret, or getting all of the lore objects that are hidden around the game. While you're traveling the galaxy, you'll also come across datacrons. Datacrons are often hidden in hard-to-reach areas and often involve a puzzle to get to. Once you've unlocked a datacron on one character, you'll get a stat boost that spans across all characters. So at some point while you're playing, you're going to want to try and get every single datacron at least once. If you want a way to earn some neat legacy armor, you can check out Reputation. Reputation is a way of gaining favor with groups across the galaxy by doing specific quests for them. Reputation is shared across your legacy, so you can work on it on any character and you'll be good to go. Working with your companions also gives a bonus to your legacy. Unlocking one of every type gives you a special bonus. For example, a ranged DPS or a melee DPS each give a special bonus. And for every companion that you've finished your conversation quests with, you'll get plus 10 to presence, which increases your companion damage across all your characters. Completing Chapter 2 of your class story gives you a special cosmetic emote that all your characters can use. For example, the trooper has a salute and the Imperial operative shows off their knives. Completing Chapter 2 awards all of your characters the class buff of that class. So for example, if you complete Chapter 2 of the Trooper story, you'll then be able to use the Trooper class buff on your Jedi Knight, your Jedi Consular, and even your Imperial Agent. Once you completed Chapter 3 of your class storyline, you'll be awarded a special ability that can only be used during Heroic Moment. Heroic Moment can be activated anytime you're in battle with your companion, and it's usually used if you're in a rough spot. Once activated, you can use any of your special heroic abilities, and since there's 8 classes, you can unlock all 8 abilities. If you've got some credits to spend, there's a whole bunch of legacy unlocks available in the Global Unlocks tab of the Legacy panel. Most of these are located in the Other tab. When you're unlocking character perks and legacy unlocks, make sure to note the difference between the credit cost and the cartel coin cost. Sometimes the ratio is really wonky, and it's a much better deal to do it with one versus the other. One of the best ones you can get for ship is called the Training Dummy. This is useful if you're at all interested in improving your abilities as a DPS character. If you're ever planning to get into operations, this is an absolute must. This is the easiest way to practice your rotation and make sure you're using the best abilities at the best times. There are training dummies available on the fleet and on the capital worlds, but having one on the privacy-owned ship is absolutely worth it. If you want to buff your training dummy similar to what an operations boss would be like, you can also purchase a special legacy item from a droid vendor available on some players' ships. This droid can also be unlocked for 1,000,000 credits in the other tab, but I recommend just finding a friend who has the droid and buying it from them. Other unlocks you can get for your ship are a GTN, a guild bank, a vendor, and a mailbox, but I don't really suggest to get them. The tiered Legacy Fleet Pass ability is absolutely fantastic. You can reduce your Fleet Pass to 0. This is an extremely easy way to get around, especially if you need to go to the fleet a lot. For example, for operations, to see friends, to get to a GTN, or to get to the vendors that sell gear for commendations. The tiered Legacy travel is very similar and that's extremely useful and I highly recommend it. If you upgrade it to the third tier, your quick travel will be reduced to a 0 time limit. That means you can use it over and over and over and hop around a planet very quickly when questing. And remember, since it's legacy-wide, it'll apply to all of your characters, so if you start a new character, you can easily get around with them too. Rocket Boost is one of the most highly lauded legacy abilities in all of the game. Rocket Boost, sometimes known as Rocket Boots, gives you the ability to move around on a temporary pair of rocket boots in areas that you wouldn't be able to normally, areas where you're not allowed to bring a speeder in. This is especially useful if you like to do flashpoints, operations, or really go into any instanced area. To get Rocket Boost, you can unlock the first tier fairly cheaply. If you got some more credits to burn, you can unlock the next tiers to make it usable more often. Tactical markers are a fun unlock that can be used mainly for raiding and operations. They can only be used in operations and flashpoints, and they can be used to place down symbols that represent tanks, healers, and DPS as glowing holograms. If you've got some money to burn but don't really need them for tactical reasons, they're extremely fun to spam. Just make sure to click them off before you start the fight so no one lags to death. A very expensive legacy unlock at 2,000,000 credits is the ability to mount while moving. This is very unnecessary if you're just playing the game for fun, but if you play a lot, it can be really nice to have. It's especially useful if you quest a lot or if you like going to crafting nodes a lot. It just means you never really have to stop moving. In addition to legacy unlocks, there are also character perks. These unlocks only apply to the character that they are unlocked on, not your entire legacy. You can find all of these on the Character Perks tab. The biggest section on this tab is various ways to increase your experience from different activities. I don't really recommend unlocking any of these because it's fairly easy to level with the current leveling system, and once you've reached max level, these unlocks become useless to you. On the right hand side of the panel, however, are some extremely useful unlocks you can get for your character. These include the Legacy of Altruism, which increases the amount of influence you get from companion gifts. If you're trying to get your companion all the way up to max influence, this is extremely important and will save you a lot of time and grief. The Legacy of Persuasion is similar in that it increases influence from talking to your companions in cutscenes. The Legacy of Crafting unlock is an absolute must for anyone who's working on endgame crafting. All 3 tiers of it too. It will increase your chances of creating an extra crafted item or augmenting a piece of crafted gear. The Travel unlock is fairly nice if you're making a new character. Normally you have to wait a while to get your first speeder on a new character, but with this unlock, you can get your speeder at level 1. In this panel is also the Priority Transport unlocks. These are very useful, and I suggest picking a couple or getting them all as you go along and get more credits. These allow you to quick travel to many different planets across the galaxy. The most useful one on this list is to be able to travel to your starship. This means you can quickly get to any planets that aren't on this list. For example, if you need to go to Voss for a random quest you haven't gotten to yet. Some of the other priority transports include the Capital World, Coruscant or Dromund Kaas depending on your faction, Outlaw's Den on Tatooine, the Fleet Vanguard vessel, where operations normally are, the Black Hole Daily area on Corellia, CC-198, a daily planet, Orcon for dailies and 2 operations, Risha for dailies and the Ravagers operation, Yavin 4 for dailies and Temple of Sacrifice operation, and there's also Odessen. Odessen is kind of a special priority transport because you won't meet it on characters that have finished Chapter 9 of Knights of the Fallen Empire. Characters who have gotten that far in the storyline can easily travel back to Odessen by traveling to their contacts in the Alliance panel. But characters who have not completed Knights of the Fallen Empire, or might not have even started, still have a use for going to Odessen. Going to a Destin is very useful if you have extra data crystals that you want to trade in, and don't really have a use for them on that character, and don't plan on starting Knights of the Fallen Empire either. You can buy gifts for your companions there, and more of those boxes that you can turn into your Alliance commanders. In the Character Unlock tab, you can also get a field repair droid for repairing your armor along the way. This one is very useful, especially if you do a lot of operations and die a lot. You can get a field mail droid, which is really nice for checking your mail in the field, especially if you're a crafter or someone who sells a lot of stuff on the GTN. You can also buy field respec, which will allow you to change between disciplines on the field without having to return all the way back to the fleet. This is great if you play a class that has multiple roles. For example, if you're a DPS, but your group suddenly needs a tank and you need to switch over. It can save a lot of time in the long run. There's also a way to unlock certain items across all of your characters, but this only works for certain special items on the cartel market. If you've collected an entire set of a cartel market armor set, or if you have a crystal, a mount, or a pet from the cartel market, you can unlock it across all of your characters using the collection system. This can cost anywhere from 60 to 400 cartel coins, and can be accessed in your inventory menu and look for the little collections tab. Once you've collected in your collections, you can then make copies on all of your characters as much as you want. Your legacy also levels up as you do. Every time you gain experience on any of your characters, XP goes into your legacy experience. You can go from level 1 to legacy level 50, and you get a special title when you get there too, called Living Legend. There are a lot of ways to take advantage of the legacy system, but the ones I recommend the most are legacy banks, legacy armor, rocket boots, and the time-saving travel unlocks. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Academy. Don't forget to subscribe to show your support for this content, and to get notified when the next episode comes out. In the next episode, we'll be discussing combat mechanics, how to get good at combat for both solo and group content.